What's really frightening is that you haven't seen these amazing films. Welcome to our YouTube channel, and today we'll be counting down our picks for the top 20 scariest horror movies you probably haven't watched. This list will focus on excellent horror films that have slipped beneath the mainstream's radar. If you like movie reactions, consider subscribing to Yaboyrocklee Movies in the description of this video. 20. Piercing, 2018.
She'll probably try to run and scream.
If you've watched Nicholas Pess's The Eyes of My Mother, you know his films aren't for the faint of heart. Piercing is no exception. Based on the novel by Rai Murakami, it stars Christopher Abbott as Reed, a businessman who prepares to check into a motel and murder a sex worker. The film begins with Reed holding an ice pick over his young child, and it just gets worse from there. It will undoubtedly divide opinions because it is not for everyone. 19. Resolution, 2012.
Well, all right. Really? Mike, what are you doing?
Two of today's most gifted independent horror filmmakers are Justin Benson and Aaron Scott Moorhead, whose contributions are still sadly underestimated. Resolution, their 2012 movie, is especially excellent. It centers on Michael, a graphic artist, when he gets an unsettling video from Chris, his best friend. Michael leaves his psychopathic friend behind and heads to a secluded cottage out of concern for Chris's mental health. It's a masterful meta-commentary on the horror genre. Horror enthusiasts must see this movie. 18. The Ritual, 2017.
Where the fuck is it? There's more!
Those looking for Blair Witch Project-style horrors should avoid The Ritual. This film was released on Netflix in 2018, but it failed to spark attention outside of the horror community. It depicts a group of friends who are pursued through the woods by an unknown creature. The Ritual, like The Blair Witch Project, finds a fine balance between psychological horror and physical shocks, and the terror comes from the men's waning trust and disputes. 17. Eden Lake, 2007.
I just want my car back.
A young couple is stalked by a gang of scary psychos in a dangerously isolated place. Of course you have. It's the inspiration for numerous horror films. But because of its sheer and persistent violence, Eden Lake manages to breathe new life into a weary subject. This is a difficult film to watch since it is violent, brutal, and worst of all, realistic. 16. Creep, 2015.
Why do you look scared? Don't be scared. It'll all be over soon.
Don't be thrown off by the discovered footage technique. Creep is actually quite frightening. The film Creep follows Aaron, a filmmaker hired by the dying Joseph to document a day in the life of his unborn kid. Joseph is odd and a little off, but he is not dangerous. He will be until he is not. The ebb and flow of suspense in Creep keeps viewers on their toes and questions Joseph's intentions and nature. 15. Eyes Without a Face, 1962. It's unfortunate that Eyes Without a Face, one of the greatest horror films ever made, isn't talked about much. Critics first viewed the movie negatively, believing that a genre picture was beneath renowned documentarian Georges Franju. After being reissued, it was subjected to a critical reassessment and is currently regarded as a masterwork of poetry, surrealism, and fairy tale motifs. 14. Death Dream, 1974. Death Dream, often referred to as Dead of Night, was directed by Bob Clark, who also made the hugely popular slasher film Black Christmas. The comedy A Christmas Story is another. He appears to feel conflicted about Christmas. The well-known short story, The Monkey's Paw, which also centers on a mother's longing for her deceased son to return to her, served as the inspiration for Death Dream. 13. Bone Tomahawk, 2015.
This is Sheriff Franklin Hunt. Identify yourself right now, or I'll shoot you dead.
Bone Tomahawk is sadly overlooked for a film crammed with excellent talent. The film, which stars Kurt Russell, Patrick Wilson, Richard Jenkins, and Matthew Fox, is a skillful mix of Western and horror. The cast gives excellent performances, and the film strikes a good mix between slow-paced, character-driven work. The gore and makeup artistry in this film are incredible, and one moment in particular will stick with you for years to come. 12. Carnival of Souls, 1962.
You think I'm insane?
I didn't say that. I don't mean that.
That's just what I need. Get mixed up with some girls off a rocker.
Carnival of Souls is an acquired taste, but those who are brave and experimental will be rewarded with one of the most beautifully atmospheric horror films of all time. It was made on a budget of $33,000, yet what director Herc Harvey accomplishes with that amount is truly astounding. The film is likely best recognized for its spectacular cinematography and gruesome imagery, which make even the most mundane of places and events appear ripped from a nightmare. 11. Ponti Poool, 2008.
Strain from the following. All terms of endearment. For greater safety.
Ponti Poool is a pretty unique zombie film. It follows the team of a real-life Ponti Poool, Ontario, Canada radio station as they learn about an apocalyptic virus from their helicopter reporter and disturbing audio recordings. We never see the chaos outside because the entire film takes place inside the radio station, but in some ways it's scarier. Many great horror films survive by frightening audiences with their own imaginations, and Ponti Poool is no exception. 10. The Autopsy of Jane Doe, 2016.
What happened?
No ID, no fingerprints in the system. For now, she's a Jane Doe.
He needs my help right now.
The premise is simple. A father-son coroner duo is charged with performing an autopsy on a mystery Jane Doe discovered at the scene of a multiple homicide. However, as they attempt to explore the mystery surrounding the body, they are haunted by horrifying incidents of otherworldly phenomena. The film is beautifully written and directed, with enticing riddles, surprise answers, and some wickedly unforeseen horrors. 9. Kill List, 2011.
Bad people. Should suffer.
Director Ben Wheatley masterfully blends genres in Kill List. It starts out like a criminal thriller, with an ex-British military turned professional hitman being given a death list by an unknown shadow client. However, as the story unfolds, it deviates into frightening and visceral horror, reminiscent of a fever dream. The film has been likened to The Blair Witch Project and The Wicker Man by critics. 8. Alice, Sweet Alice, 1976.
Alice was too old to play with dolls and too young to make love.
Alice, Sweet Alice is not an easy movie to watch. It portrays the narrative of little Alice, a troubled youngster who is suspected of murdering her younger sister on the day of her first communion. So, right from the bat, there is the murder of a child at a religious event. Needless to say, the film was met with some criticism. With its heartbreaking premise, Alice, Sweet Alice is a solid horror mystery thriller mixture that helped usher in the slasher genre. 7. Inside, 2007. This French horror thriller is not for those who are easily scared. It is violent, scary, and gory, but it is also strangely captivating. Sarah, a pregnant mother who has recently lost her spouse, is played by Allison Paradis. She is the victim of a savage house invasion by an assailant who wishes to take her pregnant child. You can see why this film is so disturbing today. Inside is loaded with awful brutality, all depicted in vivid detail. 6. The Haunting, 1963.
Tonight the dead will walk, and you, unbeliever, will scream unheard.
Stop it!
Please do not judge The Haunting by its dreadful 1999 version, starring Liam Neeson and Catherine Zeta-Jones. Instead, watch the 1963 original. This film is based on Shirley Jackson's novel, The Haunting of Hill House, which is often recognized as the best haunted house novel ever written. And while the Netflix series was excellent, it was not an accurate depiction of the novel. It, like the novel, works as both a spooky haunted house story and a terrifying character study, which is enhanced by Julie Harris' outstanding portrayal as the insane Elena. 5. The Invitation, 2015.
You've been acting so suspicious of our hospitality.
Well,
Jesus.
The Invitation is a dinner party thriller. You know how it goes. Someone gets asked to dinner, the hosts are a touch strange, and tension gradually develops before exploding into violence and mayhem. And while The Invitation follows this template exactly, it is a very well-crafted piece of work with a superb performance by Logan Marshall Green. 4. Audition 1999. This Japanese horror film is today regarded as a cult masterpiece, although its rise was gradual. It premiered at the Vancouver International Film Festival and gradually gained popularity as it toured the festival circuit and was published on DVD. Many critics praised the film's acting, wild fluctuations in tone, and climax torture sequence. 3. Session 9, 2001.
Cruising here by Columbus Day, so you got a guess for how long?
If you enjoy the innate creepiness of abandoned mental asylums, then Session 9 is the film for you. It follows an asbestos cleanup group charged with cleaning up an abandoned mental facility. The film was shot at the real Danvers State Hospital, lending it a creepy sense of authenticity. You can almost feel the hospital's past on the screen. The film has been hailed for its eerie atmosphere, and its style and tone have been likened favorably to Stanley Kubrick's masterpiece, The Shining. 2. Possession 1981.
You have someone.
yes,
Do you sleep with him?
yes.
Possession appears to be about a young couple going through a divorce. The Berlin Wall is used to represent a failing marriage, and it is here that the film departs from standard stories, characters, and symbols. And Zedjowski's Possession is like Dario Argento's Suspiria on acid. The acting is wildly exaggerated, and the camera swoops, zags, and zooms, refusing to stay still. There are indeed monsters. It's an unashamed filmmaking explosion that's a joy to watch. 1. Terrifier 2018.
You really think someone slashed my tires?
Well, he knows this is your car. He saw us getting into it earlier.
You might laugh when you see the Terrifier poster, but you know what they say about judging a book, or in this case, a film by its cover. Terrifier follows art, a clown who stalks and kills people, and yes, the plot is absurdly simplistic. But as with all great slasher films, the craft elevates the simple premise. Terrifier is surprisingly nicely filmed for its cheap budget. Art the Clown is a superb villain, and the deaths are as gruesome as a horror lover could wish for. That's a wrap on the top 20 scary movies you might not have seen. If you like movie reactions, consider subscribing to Yaboyrocklee Movies in the description of this video. Now it's time for you to choose which ones you want to watch. Remember to keep the lights on and maybe have a friend nearby for some company. Please do well to like this video, share it with other movie lovers, and most importantly, subscribe to this channel.